Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and the left, the ideologues, the Marxists, all those who support the BLM movement. Well, they're stupid. Their stupidity, in fact, is boundless, limitless, infinite. Their stupidity extends beyond even the limits of human understanding. And why? Because they want to cancel Edmund Burke. Now, for those of you who don't know, Edmund Burke was an 18th century abolitionist. That is to say, he wanted to abolish slavery. He fought tooth and nail his entire life against what he called an abhorrent and grotesque practice. He never owned a slave, never wanted a slave. He wanted the ending of slavery, initially in the British Empire and eventually around the world. And he fought his whole life to end it. And now they want to cancel him because of his links to the slave trade. The only links he had to the slave trade was in stopping it. But they are so stupid, they cannot help themselves. But ultimately, the left always eat themselves because they're inherently stupid. You have to be to believe in the Marxist ideologies they believe in. But let's look at this article and see what the hell is going on inside the mind of these morons. So, abolitionist father of conservatism Edmund Burke put on BLM-inspired slavery shame list. Oh no, he didn't. So there is a statue to the great Mr. Burke, one of the greatest sort of politicians who ever existed. He fought so hard for everything he did, and believed firmly that slavery was evil and wanted it to end. And now, because of that, they want to cancel him. Anyway, British statesman and slavery abolitionist Edmund Burke, widely regarded as one of the fathers of conservatism, has been added to a BLM-inspired shame list by UK parliamentarians for historical figures with supposed connections to the slave trade. So these are our MPs are putting Edmund Burke, an abolitionist, on a list of shamed historical figures. They're looking at history through the glasses of today, through the optics of today, and that's the sort of thing that morons do. The trouble is we keep electing these morons into office. Despite never owning slaves himself and his fierce opposition to the barbaric practice, Edmund Burke's statues and portraits are now under review for possible removal from the Palace of Westminster by a group of MPs tasked with assessing the building's artwork to see if they fall in line with woke progressive standards. According to a report from the Times of London, the father of conservatism has been listed in a review of those who supported slavery, which he did not, or who had financial family interests in the transatlantic slave trade. Now, here's the thing. He never had an interest, he had nothing to do with it, and he fought against it his whole life. The fact is, his brother once owned a slave. Now, here's the thing. You do not try a man for the sins of his father or the sins of his brother, unless you're in a fascist regime or a Marxist regime. So which is it, Parliament? Are you fascists or are you Marxists? Because only they would punish a family because of the actions of one member of that family. This is a terrifying example of what happens when extremism is given any kind of power. Now, we need to have these MPs named and shamed and then voted out at the next election. The review, which was sparked by the resurgence of BLM movement in Britain in 2020 following the death of an American serial criminal who was not very nice to women or children, will seek to transform Parliament's art collection to become more representative of diversity. Oh good, I hope that means that they will only have 3% of the pictures being of black people. Because otherwise, it wouldn't be diverse, it wouldn't be representative. And since they're the ones who are insisting on this word, representative, let's hold them to it. Let us hold them to the word representative that they are using. The cross-party review is being led by Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle's Advisory Committee on Works of Art in the House of Commons and is chaired by Conservative MP Dean Russell. Well, both of them need to be voted out because they are extremists and they are either fascist or Marxist, take your pick, because if they are holding one man guilty of another man's crimes, that's not the sort of people you want in Parliament making laws for the people of this country. The addition of Burke has led to a backlash on historical grounds, with King's College, Cambridge Professor of Political Thought Richard Burke, no relation, different spelling, describing his inclusion on the list as nonsense. It's definitely nonsense that Burke was a supporter of the slave trade. He was a critic of slavery from his first recorded views. He found it abhorrent, he told the Telegraph. Being an abolitionist is a little more complicated. He supported immediate abolition in the late 1780s, but then retracted during the French Revolution, the moment he thought was not right, because they had other fish to fry and they knew that they had to deal with one problem at a time, and he knew he wouldn't get through Parliament while the revolution was going on. But as soon as the revolution was over, they were back to it. In general terms, Burke opposed slavery, but not for its forthright abolition. Before abolition, he proposed alleviating the barbarities of the trade itself. And given these complexities, there are commentators out there who conclude that because he had a scheme for reforming the trade, he was a supporter of it, because ideology has no bounds. No, because these people are so stupid. He knew he couldn't get it through to completely abolish it at that point in time with what was going on in France, and so he said, well, let's relieve some of the suffering at the moment and work towards abolition as the final goal. Oh, because you weren't immediately calling for it to an end, he's a slaver. He was never a slaver. He fought passionately against it. And this is the trouble you have with these stupid people. They don't understand history. They have no idea about the context in which things happen, and they look at history through the magic of today's eyes. They are morons, and the fact that this is parliamentarians, this is the Speaker of the House of Commons and a senior MP. These people need to be named, shamed and voted out, because they, like I say, are incredibly dangerous. Can you imagine that if you would go to jail because your brother committed a crime? That's the sort of thing that happens in fascist countries. That's the sort of thing that happens in North Korea, that would happen in Soviet Russia, that would happen under Ceausescu in Romania. This is awful, and these MPs are guilty of it. Anyway, it's enough. It gets me angry. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to come up and round off. So there you have it. Stupid people doing stupid things. You don't punish one man for the sins of another. It's the sort of thing that happens in North Korea, Soviet Union, Saddam Hussein's Iraq. In fact, any dictatorial regime. And we do not live in a dictatorial regime. We should not have to put up with this. And if we've got MPs that think this is acceptable, where will they go next? We need to vote them out. We need to vote them out quickly and let them know why we've voted them out. Anyway, if you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, do share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't go to prison for anyone else's crime, and goodbye.